My friends, I want to speak to you about something which is very, very critical. I want to explain something to you and explain something which is difficult for some people to grasp because they've never seen it before. They've never been a part of it. And it's something that I can't tell you without perhaps violating a number of rules regarding the algorithms that a lot of people on social media have to deal with. And it deals with the reality of murder. And it deals with the reality of what Laken Riley looked like when she was found, or rather what her body looked like, what her remains looked like. You see, unless and until you get to see firsthand what murder looks like, we're wasting our time. We are completely wasting our time. I mean, we can talk about it, we can, but unless you see it, unless you can actually see what this looks like, you don't understand. You don't grasp it. And for reasons I don't understand, with all of this love of, CSI, when it comes to showing you the reality of murder, people don't do it. People don't explain it to you. They don't give you an idea of what it looks like. Many of us have been to funeral homes. We may have an urn or something at our homes, and be Uncle Dave or Grandma, Grandpa, or Mom and Dad. We speak about death in a very, very, very strange way. We don't really want to talk about it. Unless and until you see it. And when I was a young prosecutor, I never had any clue whatsoever. So when you started off, you had, the older folks, your mentors who were in the felony divisions and homicide. And you would get to see, sometimes you would assist or be a part of the evidence. Videos. We had videos years ago. This is before anybody really had videos. Pictures, color, you name it. Medical examiners, until you've been to the ME's office and smelled the death. Most people have never really smelled death, decomposition, putrescence. You don't. And why would you? Unless you see it, you don't understand what it is. What we have is this case involving Laken Riley. And yesterday, the illegal alien who brutally murdered, brutally, savagely, incomprehensibly, who murdered Laken Riley, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And this was, of course, worked out ahead of time by one of those classic Soros prosecutors, because what would happen to him was far more, I guess, inhumane than anybody could realize. I guess, I'm not sure. But he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But justice, as you can know, is this thing which I don't really understand what justice is, and I can't explain it to you. But I just know that justice is what people talk about when it is not received, when people don't see it, when they don't feel it, when justice hasn't been served. You only know it's there when it hasn't been there. When you say, that's not justice, that's not right, as opposed to, well, what would justice mandate? It's hard to say. Would it be the death penalty? Would that make you feel better? A lot of people would say, yeah, it would. It would. But justice is nowhere near this, because the bureaucrats, politicians, the mayors, the Biden administration, Kamala, Mayorkas, they deliberately let Jose Ibarra, this animal, into this country, let him loose illegally. And they are still sitting comfortably, quietly, cozily in their DC offices, waiting to leave, getting their pensions, moving on, getting paid on the back end by shadow government leaders and the like. having an aperitif in their club, just saying goodbye, while the blood and the guilt and the responsibility and the liability of innocent Americans slaughtered at the hands of these animals is on their hands. And they couldn't care less. Do you hear what I'm saying? They couldn't care less. You mean nothing to them. This dirtbag, this hominid, Ibarra, is a 26-year-old Venezuelan who's a member, so to speak, of the group Tren de Aragua, TDA, from Venezuela. These are individuals, animals, hominids, who have no sense of anything that makes you and me what we would think a human. They don't have it. They don't. Not at all. And despite the fact that this person, he entered our country in 2022 near El Paso. And despite this fact, notwithstanding the fact that he broke our law, he was allowed to stay in this country, allegedly, putatively, due to a lack of detention space. Well, we'd have plenty of detention space if we never let him in. If we catch him, turn him around, and send him back as fast as you can. But no, we don't do that because that's not a part of the plan. His illegal arrival in our beloved country was no accident. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. It was intentional. It was the direct result of the Biden shadow government administration's plan to subvert and destroy our jurisdiction, our humanity, our sovereignty. It was legitimately, deliberately done. Don't kid yourself. And to all of you miserable, rancid, feckless, imprisoned, atesticular idiots who would dare to vote for this fool, I blame you as well. You allowed this to happen. You allowed this to happen because you hated Trump. I blame Mayorkas and Biden and Harris and Democrats and you if you voted for this intellectual monster. I blame you. This was a direct result of your policies. Now, in their rush to completely disrupt, dismantle, and destroy every effective, purposeful, and successful border security measure from the Trump era, repeat, from the Trump era, they opened up this criminal floodgates for invaders, for savages, inhuman animals like Ibarra. Joe Biden deliberately ended, stopped, destroyed the Trump declaration of policy of a national emergency at our southern border. He said no such thing. He did everything because they owned Joe Biden. They owned him and his family and his brother. They had the goods on him, including that miserable, evil seed, that spawn Hunter. They had him. They had the laptop. They said, "Play ball with us, Joe, or it's over with. You are hanging by a thread." So Biden ended the declaration of a national emergency. He stopped. He halted. He caused the cessation of border wall construction. Remember, drain the swamp, lock her up, and build a wall. He was allowed nearly 500,000 inadmissible aliens to roam our country. He let, quote, inadmissible aliens, this is what they were called, to roam, to walk, to perambulate, peregrinate, to locomote, to walk and wander around our country, our beloved homeland, with, quote, little or no vetting. This according to the House Committee on Homeland Security. He did this. He's responsible. Laken Riley is dead because of him, because of Kamala, and because of the Democrats who voted for him. I'm blaming you. I'm blaming the Democratic Party. Enough with this nonsense. Enough with this. We can pretend it's, I don't know what you want to call it. Then how did he get to Georgia? Very simple. It was allowed, the skids were greased by the very same governmental officials who should have been working assiduously to keep him out. And after he illegally trespassed and breached our borders, after he entered our country illegally and arrived in New York, my town here, Ibarra, along with his fellow band of illegals, requested a free flight out of the city. Maybe it's a little cold, who knows? According to testimony from his former roommate, Rosbelly Flores Bello, or Bello. Ibarra was staying at the Roosevelt Hotel on taxpayers' dime. Your dime. Roosevelt used to really be something. That was a place. They destroyed it. The New York Post reported that sources that they cited said that he, quote, enjoyed the taxpayer-funded flight from Kennedy Airport in Queens to Atlanta in September 2023. All free. Free. He comes in, have a seat. Who moves to Georgia? His elder brother, this is Ibarra's, Diego, encouraged his brother to leave Manhattan and come down to Georgia. Come on down to the Peach State. Come on. Diego, the brother, was apprehended by the Border Patrol in 2023 in El Paso and was processed for immediate, this is a quote now, processed for immediate removal, but was released to New York City. Oh, after he made an asylum claim. Now, asylum is a particular reason why you have asylum. What are you seeking asylum from? From what? It's one thing when you have persecution, political persecution, but what? What are you leaving? What are you seeking asylum from? Why are you here? You don't just automatically get it. You have to be able to stay. Now, Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas ended President Trump's, quote, remain in Mexico policy. What is that? It required illegal aliens to wait in Mexico. Oh, well, no shit. As their asylum cases were being heard, you have to wait and then we'll hear your case. But you don't come in and then get lost in the shuffle. No, we'll get to you. It's just fun. Mayorkas said that the program had, quote, endemic flaws. These are quotes. Endemic flaws imposed substantial and unjustifiable human costs. And it failed to provide people like Diego Ibarra, brother of the murderer, the, quote, fair process and humanitarian protections that all persons deserve. This is with a straight face, this. But those flaws that he speaks about are nothing compared to the absolute, unmitigated, incomprehensible havoc and ruinous processes that Biden and Mayorkas and the Democrats and you, if you voted for that harridan, that you caused. It's your fault. So less than 6 months after he arrived in Georgia, this animal brutally murdered Laken Riley on a wooded trail that she was running on. He will now spend the rest of his life in jail. But what responsibility, what liability, what accountability for our alleged leaders who to this very day, as of right this moment, are letting in thousands and thousands of more unvetted illegal aliens to flood our country wreak havoc, to exact violence against our citizens. Why? Mayorkas, Biden, Kamala, Democrats, and Democratic voters all across the country have created this system, this thing, this process that not only lets criminals in to our country to hurt and harm and destroy and rape and pillage and murder, but enables them to travel the states in search of more victims, more prey, using our tax dollars to put them on planes and get them in. Now, if it is shown that Mayorkas is responsible, if his job is to secure the border and to keep the homeland safe, but then he deliberately institutes programs that actually does the opposite, that actually causes the opposite result, up to and including allowing these animal savages to walk, where's the responsibility there? Mayorkas and Biden and all the Democrats have failed in their most basic duties to protect our country. Now, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? I pledge, I promise you, I will do everything I possibly can, whenever I can, to remind everybody of what happened here. And if I had my way, I would make sure that you would see firsthand what the story is, what this looks like. You must see what death looks like. You've got to see it. You've got to understand it. You've got to see the look on their face. You've got to see her face, which was absolutely, positively disfigured, unrecognizable. Her parents had to see this. This is your baby. This is a woman who smiled. This is a person. This is, you don't know what it's like. You have no, you have to, it's critical that people see this. You have to see what happens to the body. You don't realize they turn into dolls. It looks like a doll that you have smashed. Faces smashed, smear, eyes turned to the side, skulls cracked. We're just skin and bones. There's nothing really holding us to this. You'd be surprised. You can't believe. It's like, it's roadkill. This person went from this to this. You know, Tom Homan speaks about this. When you see crime scenes and you see somebody special, and by the way, believe it or not, the worst are the vehicular homicides. Those are the worst. Those are, we're talking about collisions and physics that are just incomprehensible. But when you see them and you see that, you are in a position where you get to see the human form absolutely decimated, but reduced to smithereens. And you can't believe it. There was a picture recently that was on X or Twitter, I still call it Twitter, of some of the destruction in Gaza. It was an apartment complex. Irrespective of what you think, what you know, what you believe regarding the Middle East, regarding Hamas, irrespective, I don't care, it doesn't matter. A friend of mine was saying, well, let me tell you something. Hamas is a bad baby. I'm going to talk about this episode. Yeah. And look, as long as you allow these people to be human shields, what do you expect? I said, okay. I take it you haven't seen anything. He said, no. Well, for some reason on X or Twitter, they have unedited pictures, which they should show, of these children. And I said, here, look at this. And his jaw dropped. I don't think he ever saw a dead body in his life. I said, look at this. Look at their faces. And sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes people will die and sometimes their eyes are closed, sometimes they're not. if it wasn't for the gray pallor when they become exsanguinated, when blood stops, because once the heart stops pumping, it goes immediately gray. Immediately. If you've ever seen a person die, as soon as as soon as the heart stops, it's like, you can't believe it. It's like the soul, everything gone. And they take on that plastic, non-human doll-like look. But sometimes, even in that, they will look as though there is this, like they're sleeping, sort of. So I'm showing my friend, and I said there was this one particular picture of I forget where it was. It might have been Gaza. I think it was. But they showed this ambulance or something, and they were stacking kids on top of each other to make room for this. What was the most interesting? What is the most horrifying? Was that, but the look on the fellow's face, who was like he was just taking groceries out to your car, like somebody at Whole Foods, just delivering. He had been doing it for so long that I guess maybe to maintain his own sanity or his own humanity, he just had a look on his face like, well. When you see pictures of children, when you see crime scene, it's very interesting. Sometimes you'll see fingernails, and you say, "Oh, look at how they cared so much for their manicure. Look, this must have cost a lot of money." Sometimes, and you can tell by that. Look at this: fingernails, toenails, some type of, and you can, like, their shoes, and you think, "Oh, look, this is where they tied their shoes. They did this last. They look how they spent so much time worrying on their appearance and their nails." And then you see them and they are just flattened or decapitated or what have you. It's so much goes through your head. And you can only see that if you see that. You have to see that. You have to understand it. You have to understand it. All this talk means nothing. All this talk. If you have kids and they are of that age, kind of like we were, there are kids right now who are dropping dead because of fentanyl. Not fentanyl. And I wish there was a way to show kids what it looks like when people take these things. And by the way, some of these kids who get it, they weren't doing drugs. They were taking the Tylenol, or they just took a pill. They didn't know what it was. They weren't doing drugs. They thought it was but you have to see this. Say, this is what it looks like. How many of you great friends remember in the old days when did you ever take driver's ed? And I remember one time in Tampa is where I went. It was a guy named Jack Baldwin. It was a thing called Safeway Driving School. Safeway. And I remember we were 16. I couldn't wait to get my driver's license. I was there the very first day on my birthday. I was there. Could not wait, because a car to me was freedom. A car was driving around and cruising and doing whatever I had to do. Okay, fine. So I did that. That was my thing. They said, but before you leave, I'm going to show you something called Blood on the Highway, Signal this. In fact, at the film forum in New York, they put together this. There was a fellow who drove around in his car. He had a police radio, and he had this old kind of a wind up, like a 8mm. But he would take these pictures, and they were so gruesome by virtue of the fact that they were kind of bad color or black and white. And you saw these jalopies, but these people that were. One guy was he was driving. He had telephone poles or something. When he hit, the pole went right through him, right there. I don't think we're going to be traveling with telephone poles, but the point is to explain to us 16-year-olds, let me show you what speed looks like. Let me show you what it looks like. You can't believe. One time there was a fellow I knew. He was a Florida Highway Patrol traffic homicide. And he came by. It was in my office. He goes, come here, let me show you something. And he showed me the pictures. He said, find the body. This was an inside picture of the car, completely accordion, compressed. He says, find the body. I said, I don't see the body. He goes, it's there. Look. I think it was black and white and then color, but because sometimes black and white actually will show you different perspective. I said, I'm sorry, I don't see it. And he goes, right here. See that? See the arm? I said, oh, there it is. And it was right there. It was as though the metal and the body were one. I know that sounds crazy. I'll never forget that. It was like it was one. I thought if kids saw this. I saw pictures one time of a woman who was hit crossing, I think it was Dale maybe, kind of a big, and a guy with a Corvette or something hit her. He wasn't drunk, he was just speeding. She was pushing her bike across the street. Hit her. If I told you this, you're not going to believe it, but it's true. Both arms were off, both legs were off, torso hit, but everything was fine. Just, it was so, I don't know how they did it. She had a look of no damage. She was just quartered. And when you think of this, and people who've been to war, people who've seen this, you think that we are indestructible. Sometimes you watch, you can go on a video or watch YouTube, and you see people who've been hit by police bullets and things like that, and they're just standing there. The guy's just standing there. He's not falling down. Not like on TV. They're outside, boop, they fall down. You don't know. We are skin and bones. We are skin and sinew and hair and nothing. And when you take this person, he decided that day that he was going to take Laken Riley on that day in that town because he wanted her. After he savagely sexually violated her, horribly, that was his intention. He just says, you. So he went from being, imagine if I told you, what does it take for somebody to all of a sudden say, I think I'm going to savagely brutalize this woman. I'm going to go from normal to this. I'm going to go from being calm and say, oh, there's a woman. I'm going to attack her. Not revved up, not on a date, not drinking. She repels him, rebuffs. Not that would excuse it, but just from 0 to 60, he sees her. That's it, because he's a savage. He's an animal. He may have skin like us, but he shares DNA only. And he looked at her and he just went like that, like a predator. And after he's done doing his thing, he takes him and basically destroys her. And then tosses her like garbage. And looks to look at him and he's one of millions of people all over the world. I don't know who these savages are. I don't know. This is something, they're all over the place. And they come from a place, they come from a country, they come from a culture, they come, not everybody in Venezuela, but certain aspects that know poverty and conditions you don't understand. See, a lot of the folks, see, we think we're badass. Imagine going to, have you ever met cartel people? Oh, they're another planet. There's a fellow who does these, these mafia shows. Do you ever watch these mafia shows on TV? Ever see them? They're some are very good. There's a guy who's very good. He's one of the smartest people around, and I've listened to him. And he is absolutely brilliant in his expositions. His name is Hootie Russo, but his nickname is Hootie. And he talks about how when he was a young man, he thought he'd go into the business, and he thought he'd go to Mexico. And he thought he would go to Mexico, and he thought he would deal directly with buying weed or whatever it was. And he realized, oh no. And he was from Ozone Park and, City Line. I mean, he was really some tough. This one area of Queens, this is where the tough guys were. Not Brooklyn, but there. He thought he knew everybody. He thought he knew the killers. Until he met the cartel. And they realized they would chop him up. And it's a brutality you can't explain. You can't appreciate. That's what we have right now. Now, you're probably asking, why isn't he receiving the death penalty? Because I believe her name is Gonzalez. The prosecutor, who was a Soros appointee, made a deal ahead of time because she thought I don't know why, took the death penalty off the table completely. Now, I happen to be against the death penalty, not for reasons that you believe, but because of the fact that our system is so stupid. Our system, which puts our president, Trump, through this lawfare stuff, I don't want anywhere near meting out the death sentence. I don't want. I just don't want. I don't want anywhere near. It's not because I like these people. I love these people. I would lose any sleep because I have any moral. I'm not into the religion part of it. Nothing to do with it. It's more about the system. But this person cannot be is going to be kept here for the rest of his life on our dime, because if we turn him back into Venezuela, he will be released. They're all corrupt. They're not going to keep him. They're going to go to what? They're going to agree to, no, we're not going to let him go. So we got to keep him for the rest of his life. I would not mind seeing in his particular case death, a slow death. And one could even say that torture, I don't know if that violates the 8th Amendment, but I don't know. But all I know is, and I want you to listen to me carefully. I want you to listen to me. This is not a joke. You live in a country, most probably from the stats, you live in this country, and you really don't know what this is. You've never really met crime. You don't know crime. You might have it, but not like this. You don't know who these people are. You don't want to know who these people are. They are worse than anything you could ever imagine, and they are here in this country. And why? I don't know. We can argue why they want to do that. They want to have a permanent Democratic Party. They want to be able to. These people should be caught, biometrically scanned, iris scanned, and then have white buses so that you see the white bus, so that you can see the visual. You need to see it. You can't just tell Americans, oh, we got rid of 10,000. No, you got to see caravans of white buses taken to exposition after they've been scanned. Kids and families, gone. Unaccompanied children, they are kids. We've lost over 500,000 kids who have either been sold into sex trafficking, labor trafficking, organ harvesting, name it. They are expendable. These children don't have names. You understand what I'm saying? They don't have names. The human species, we are animals. We love to think we're better than people. We love to think that we are proud. No, we're not. We are vile, disgusting, and most people are not good. They're just not bad. Most people just don't do bad things, but they're not good. Most of us don't care at all about anybody. We have no feelings whatsoever, none. We have, since the beginning of time, been able to say to other people, those are Jews, those are gypsies, those are homosexuals, those are Palestinians, those are black people, those are slaves, those are this. It doesn't matter. We're always able to, in some way. If we did in Vietnam, oh, those are the gooks. That's Charlie. That's Me Lai. What are you going to do? We are animals. We are savages. We are the most despicable, vile creature there is. And we put up a great front because we have religion and God and, oh, we love anybody. And that's nice. That's most people. But remember, those people are only good because they don't do bad. But there is a significant number of people in this world who are so vile and so awful and so horrible. And where they come from and how they, I don't know. We can argue all day long. TV, GMOs, Wi-Fi, I don't know. But don't think for a moment that we're beautiful people. And if we're God's creation, God's got a lot of explaining to do. We are the most vile form of species. Animals don't do this. Do you have any dogs? Anybody have any dogs, cats? Anybody? Anybody have any dogs? Animals don't do this to each other. Animals don't do this. They don't do this to people. We do. Animals don't do it. Dogs, cats, but in the real world, I mean, there's some bonobos every now and then. There's kind of a territorial thing, but in the real world, no, we're vile and we're disgusting. And let me tell you something. You better thank God there's a President Donald Trump. You better thank God that somebody along the way figured out that we got to get him elected. And let me also tell you, to the Democrats, to Mayorkas in particular, to Biden, to Kamala, to everybody else, and to the Democrats who voted for her, I hold you responsible. You are responsible. You are accomplices to this. And I will never forget this. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure everybody knows about this. Everybody. This is a war. This isn't just some kind of, this is some YouTube show. He's just saying this to get people to listen. He's just trying to get the numbers up. Yeah, I want the numbers up. So more people will listen to me say, this is war. I want people to get angry. I want people to vote. I want people to get off their fat asses and do something about this. Stop talking, stop tweeting or Xing or whatever the hell it is, and do something. Just vote and know what's going on. Be aware. This ignorance is what kills us. That's all. Oh, but do me a favor. If you could do me a favor, please like this video. This is all our metrics. Make sure you're subscribed to Lionel Legal. Make sure you are. This is all the metrics that we have. This is it. This is what separates us. I am not bullshitting you here. I'm not doing this just because, okay, I'm just, no. And I'm not a Republican and I'm not a conservative or any of that stuff. I'm a registered independent because I had to pick something. And I think these parties are stupid. And I'm saying, God bless this man. God bless President Trump. There he is, right there. God bless him. It may not be perfect, but he's the best thing we have. And to think that those Democrats dared to throw that retardate at me, I will never forget that as long as I live. You have done it this time. You've done it. What is this, a joke? What, were you kidding around? You think this is funny? This is the best you can do? Are you kidding me? You had a brain dead, this senescent dotard walking around, sharding his pants, all that. I don't know what that was going on. And then you've got this one who is, I'm telling you, I know you're not supposed to use the word retarded, but I don't know what the word is. But if ever there was a word that was most apt, that's it. I'll never forget that. And I and legions of my brothers and sisters will do everything in our power to see that you never assume the mantle or the position of power again. And the first thing we have to do is to make sure everybody knows what you did. That's the purpose of this. That's simple. My friends, thank you. Have a great and a glorious day. I appreciate you taking the time out. Please spread the word. Pass this to a friend of yours. Send this on to somebody, maybe one of your liberoid friends who think that, I don't know, they're possessed of some particular perspective that we don't understand. Tell them the truth. Okay? Good. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, this is my unique valedictory, my sayonara, my adios. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. That.